So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure and privilege to partner with Dinah Hunter and Gary Knapp every week. And we love being here with you. And we also know that many people arrive either after the hour, and we welcome you, or watch this later down the track because Saturday mornings are a busy family time. Today we have Dr. Steve Nugent. We're very privileged to have him. He joins us several times a year, and he's right up there with our favorite speakers. He's got an amazing background, and you're privileged to be able to hear this education today. Dr. Steve Nugent is Manitech's Chief Science Officer and Chairman of the Global Scientific Advisory Board. He has more than 40 years of experience in the area of integrative medicine. He has tested more than 6,000 dietary supplements product and formulated more than 100. He is internationally recognized as an expert in his field and has been teaching doctors for more than 30 years. He is Manitech's most requested and respected speaker worldwide. He has earned multiple degrees, graduating with top honors at both the undergraduate and graduate levels. His areas of studies include integrative medicine, health and wellness psychology, leadership psychology, organizational psychology, neuropsychology, biological anthropology, nutrition science, and business administration. Dr. Nugent has served as president of the International Association of Complementary Medicine and is president emeritus of the American Naturopathic Medical Association. He is a professional member of the American College of Nutrition, and he was also awarded the Servant's Heart Award by Manitech Associates in 2007. Dr. Nugent is one of Australasia's favorites. He carries the heart for the health, the well-being, and the education of everyone he meets. He's passionate about giving the power of wellness back into the hands of everyday people. That's what this is about. There's an education that's not given freely that can change your health and well-being, and the power is in your hands, and that's our mission here at Manitech. So, Dr. Nugent, welcome. I've made you co-host so you can share your screen. There you go. And I'll go off screen and get ready to listen and learn.
Okay, and don't mute yourself, because when I heard Diana's introduction, and she said, long and healthy life, I thought that you wanted the Y supplements presentation. Well, while you were talking and doing the introduction, I pulled up my other presentation. You tell me which one you want. That's the one.
Well, Y supplement was about having a long and healthy life. So Y supplement is perfect.
So, okay. Okay.
That's why you need to supplement to have a long and healthy life.
All right. I just want to, I want to give you folks what you need.
Yeah, no, that's perfect, because, exactly what I just said, people aren't educated. They think food is enough, and it's not. And the evidence and the research that you've done to demonstrate that in a really easily received way is really important. It's the foundation of what we do.
It sure is. It absolutely is.
Okay.
All righty.
Thank you.
Let me bring up one of these other presentations. Hang on. I apologize, folks, for the miscommunication, but we're going to get some really good education here regardless.
It just demonstrates how much service you have available in your heart for us, Dr. Nugent.
Oh, well, I thank you very much. I do the best I can. All right, so hopefully this is the right one, I hope. And I will blend this in along with the different factors that factor in for your life to have the longest and the healthiest life. And I think that a lot of people just don't realize all of the factors that are important to our health over time. So let's, hopefully I've got the right one up now, I hope. I apologize, guys. I can't seem to make my slides won't move. All right. Well, I'm going to try this one and see if the slides will move. I don't know why I'm having trouble with my computer, but heck, stuff happens, right? There we go. Okay. All right. We're on track. My apologies, folks. Good way to start your morning there in Australasia, right? Okay, so I'm going to integrate some different ideas with this presentation. So some of you may want to take some notes, or you may want to tune in to this later on the YouTube channel that Sharon has, and she'll give you details on that. So why do you want to supplement your food at all? Keep in mind that although there are different rules in different countries about how you have to identify something, and you might say in some countries dietary supplement, in some countries you say food supplement, etc. But whatever the country rules are, the idea is that you are supplementing what may be missing in your diet. And what people do not realize, and I find this all over the planet because we're now in 32 countries with Manitech. We're very proud about that. Is that people just don't realize how much nutrition their bodies require and how often people are not getting sufficient levels of that nutrition. Your body really is a miracle. In fact, the more science I study, and I discipline myself to read a minimum of 2 new scientific studies every day, 7 days a week. A lot of days I get in more than that, but there's work to be done on top of reading studies. And I can tell you, folks, the more I learn, the more I'll quote, or let me say, I'll paraphrase Albert Einstein. I may not get this quote correctly, but he once said, the more he learns, the more he realizes how little he knows. And that's kind of my case too. I mean, I have studied biological anthropology. I've studied a number of different areas, including nutrition science. I've studied a wide range of areas in psychology because we know that what we think affects our body chemistry, and that our brain chemistry affects our body chemistry, and our body chemistry sometimes affects our brain chemistry. So it's all one. Yeah, we are made of many things, not just our physical selves. Now, most of you are interested in my studies in integrative medicine because that's why most of you have come to these products. But the more I study, the more I realize what a miracle the human body is. It's almost beyond comprehension, the things that our body is capable of doing. Here's the problem. Our body is an organic machine. And like all machines, it requires fuel. If you give it premium fuel, you get premium performance. If you give it low-grade fuel, you get low-grade performance. And in the 21st century, we are now under much greater strain than we have ever been before in the history of the human race. We are under strain from more ways and more directions than you could possibly imagine. And that means our organic machines, these bodies that we live in, these machines are requiring more fuel and better quality fuel than they have been getting in recent years. Lots of changes have been occurring. So the first thing is, yes, we want you to get your nutrition from the healthiest possible food, but do not deceive yourself into thinking that as you sit down to eat what you think is a perfect diet, that you're getting everything that your body requires to combat all the stresses of the 21st century. Folks, human beings have never had to face stresses like we face today. This is a whole new ball game, as we like to say in the US. And the 21st century is just really different than even the late 20th century. And most of you, of course, were around for that period of time as well. So speaking of the late 20th century, let's go back to 1995 to begin this narrative on how much nutrition we need and what's the reality of nutrition today. Well, and there's a lot of universities, by the way, that are still teaching outdated information on this. And a lot of that has to do with, well, this is what we do, this is what we've always done. I mean, there are universities, this will shock you, I know. There are universities that are using textbooks that the only thing that's changed in them in 20 years are the pictures. So for instance, if they have a picture of people walking down the street, they want to update those pictures so that they're in modern clothing. Or cars driving by, they want to update those pictures to show modern cars, but the data hasn't changed. The problem is, in real time, real science, the data has changed. And many people being educated today, they're working hard, they're spending all kinds of money in college and university. They work hard to earn their degrees, and they come out with outdated information and they don't know it. That's not a good thing. So let's talk about starting in 1995. In 1995, the scientists at a group called the US Department of Agriculture financed a very large human study, a very expensive human study. And they used a type of test called serum ORAC. Serum means blood, ORAC stands for oxygen radical absorption capacity. And what that means in simple terms is the potential for any molecule to neutralize the adverse effects on your body of oxidative stress. What is oxidative stress? Well, in the simplest possible terms, oxidative stress is rust. Oxidative stress on metal is literally rust. Now, you're not made of metal and you don't rust per se, but if you were to look at cells that are under attack from oxidative stress, free radical molecules.
Dr. Nugent, it's Sharon.
Yes.
We're still seeing multiple slides, not single slides. I thought it was just me, but I asked in the group and everybody's seeing it. So.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I have no idea. Hang on a minute.
No worries.
I don't know. So two presentations must be open. Hopefully this is the right one to shut.
Yeah, it disappeared. So it was.
Well, we have to be adaptive in these cases, don't we?
We certainly do. And we are as a
Yes.
community. Ah, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you for telling me that, because I had no way of knowing on my end. Okay, so back to the idea of the free radicals. If you look at cells which are being attacked by free radicals, that's oxidative stress. The damage to the cells looks very much like rust on metal. Now, you know what happens if you allow metal to continue to rust, if you don't take the steps to stop that rust. Well, the metal continues to decay and decay until finally it turns to dust. Well, you can't allow that to happen in your body. You must have the best antioxidants. And that's why this first study was done in 1995. What they found surprised them, because what they had been taught in school, was that if you eat right, everything's fine. Even in 1995, that was not true. And what they found, to their surprise, was that almost no human being that they tested had sufficient antioxidant in their bloodstream to protect them from free radicals in 1995. Now, the free radical stress on human beings has gotten much, much worse since 1995. And in 1995, they said, well, you have to take at least 5, but preferably 7 servings of vegetables and fruits. And folks, it should be vegetables first, fruits second. Fruit is nature's dessert. Vegetables should be the majority of what you eat. Okay. Now, I know that's the opposite of what everybody wants. And that's why everybody even says commonly fruits and vegetables. It should be vegetables and fruit, right? Fruit should be very small amounts. So then that was 1995. They kept repeating the test, doing the same thing using serum ORAC, which is a very complicated, very expensive blood test done in human beings. And the purpose of doing that test is, unlike the laboratory tests or the tests on tests done in test tubes and so on, you're actually looking to find out what is the real level of antioxidant protection in the blood of this human being right now. Well, our competitors don't even bother with the test because they don't have to, and it is expensive. And they know that they can get away without using that test. So they come up with all kinds of interesting ways to rate their antioxidants, but none of them meet the standard of serum ORAC. Well, I'll come back to serum ORAC in a little bit. So the US Department of Agriculture then said when they tested in 2012, now understand we're moving up from 1995 here, each year, air pollution, water pollution, brand new, previously unknown synthetic chemicals are entering the environment. And they say, oh boy, 2012, you know, we better make it a minimum of 7, but really it ought to be 13 servings for everybody per day. Nobody's going to do that. That's a ridiculous amount of vegetable and fruit. I mean, you pretty much have to be a ruminating quadruped. I mean, you got to be a cow or a deer or something to be able to eat all day long like that. It's not practical. And they stopped doing the test in 2012 because they realized it was simply going to get worse every year. And they were already up to a recommendation that nobody was going to be able to follow. So what do you do if your diet does not provide you with sufficient nutrition? You supplement it with a dietary supplement, or in some countries, food supplement, however the rules in those countries require it. Lots of stuff has happened. I wrote a book back in 2004 and then second edition of that book in 2008. And I talked significantly in that book about the state of our food supply around the world. And I reviewed a number of different countries. This one stuck with me. This is from the United Kingdom, and it was published in the British Food Journal. And they pointed out something that we've noted in the US and some other countries as well. And that is that the water content of our produce, that is our fruits and vegetables, the water content continues to increase each year. And this is displacing solid content of the fruits. Now, why are commercial growers trying to flood all this water into the fruits and vegetables? Well, because vegetables and fruits are sold by weight. The heavier they are, the more money you make. And if you're a corporate farm, that's your thing. You want to make as much money as you can. It's a business. Well, if the water content's going up and the dry matter content is going down, might there be a problem with the nutrition content? Well, according to the British Food Journal, this is something that we should investigate. And that's an appropriate way to respond to that. There's a lot of other things, but let's look at practical things that we know, okay? And I'll give you some statistics from the US simply because statistics are easier and more consistent to get in the US. But again, just in case there's anyone there in Australasia that says, well, it doesn't apply to me. One of the unique things about the US is that it represents literally, and we know this by our census, literally every genetic group on planet Earth is represented in the US. So as far as I'm concerned, humans are humans. We've represented all the genetic groups, and here's what we know. About 76% of American adults take dietary supplements. Okay, that's a good thing. I think that's a very smart thing. Now, you would think if the food supply was so terrific, if it was unchanged since, say, 1950, and 76% of the population are taking supplements, man, there shouldn't be anybody that's lacking nutrition, right? Well, not the case. In fact, and this figure has gone up recently from 90% to 92% of Americans are deficient in at least one nutrient. And more than 70% are deficient in a fairly long list of nutrients. Now, they're eating and they're taking supplements, 76% of them, and still more than 90% of Americans are deficient in certain key nutrients. So if you still think that trying to eat what you believe, and by the way, there's arguments and controversies on that as well, like what's the best diet to make sure that you never get sick and so on. There's a lot of controversy there, but let's not go into that because we don't have time. So the point here is, if you still believe that eating what you think is the right diet, then you're sadly mistaken if you think you're going to get all the nutrients that you need all the time under every condition. But part of this actually goes to stress. Now, there was a study done and published in the American Medical Association's journal, which is called the Journal of the American Medical Association. It was a blood study, and they drew the blood of human volunteers. Their research question was, do people get sufficient vitamin from their diet alone? Now, to do this study, they made sure that they picked people that weren't taking supplements, who thought they were eating, the prescribed diet from their primary physicians and so on. And what they found out, to their surprise, is almost no one in the study had sufficient vitamin. Now, I've talked already about antioxidants, and that falls under a heading called phytochemicals, which means plant chemicals. And these are good things that your body requires, these phytonutrients or phytochemicals. That provides you with antioxidants. Now, vitamins, some vitamins are antioxidants, but vitamins also provide you with a lot of other absolutely key, absolutely essential things for your health. And these researchers said most people do not consume an optimal amount of vitamins by diet alone. It appears prudent for all adults to take vitamin supplements. Well, now we've got phytonutrients, antioxidants, and vitamins. And you have to ask yourself, do you eat a perfect diet? Does anyone eat a perfect diet? I don't know that that's even possible. Is your life free of stress? That is almost impossible on planet Earth. I can't imagine meeting any human being that has no psychological stress in their life. I can't imagine it. We know scientifically that psychological stress suppresses your ability to fight any kind of disease that you might think of or infection. It suppresses your immune system. Psychological stress is real, and particularly in recent years. It's not getting better. And if you think it is, maybe you're living in a bubble somewhere. I don't know. Is your immune system, is it actually able to respond to the pollutants in today's world? You may not be aware of this, and I will talk a little bit about some chemicals as we proceed. But scientists at the American Environmental Protection Agency, now they're out doing routine studies. They're doing samplings of water in various lakes and rivers. That's part of their job. They do it all the time. And they have a device which is programmed to detect certain kinds of chemicals. Then they report this back to their supervisors at EPA. So these two scientists, they're doing some checks and they find some things that they don't recognize, that don't seem to be identifiable by the software program in their device. And they report this back. They take water samples, they do analysis back at their lab. And what they find out is that these are new chemicals that nobody ever made on purpose. And what they find out from this then is synthetic chemicals, many, not all, we can't say all, but there are many that when they're in water and they combine with another synthetic chemical, so two industrial synthetic chemicals that are known, they combine with each other, they make a new compound. They make a new compound that no one expected, no one could have predicted, and no one is sure what they do. And these scientists said, because of that, there's no way for us to predict how many potentially hazardous chemicals may be in the environment today. Serious stuff. This is the 21st century. Forget about everything you knew in the 20th century. The 21st century is unfortunately not getting healthier. Now, when I was studying biological anthropology, I specifically focused on adaptation with diet. And you can study lots of things in biological anthropology, obviously. So the idea was, how did our ancestors adapt to stresses in their environment? How did they change their diet? So I like to give this example for everyone when I'm giving this particular talk. Again, thinking about your body as an organic machine, knowing that it has to be fueled. Now, let's turn this to a vehicle, a motor vehicle. We know that if a motor vehicle is driving on a level road, on a level plane, it gets the best fuel economy. We know that. We also know that if a motor vehicle is driving uphill, it gets much less efficient fuel economy. In fact, the steeper the grade, the more fuel it will burn. If you're driving 5 kilometers on a level plane, you will burn less fuel than if you're driving 5 kilometers uphill. This also goes for wear and tear on the parts of the machine. So understand, the more stress there is on your organic machine, the more fuel you require, and the more wear and tear there will be on your parts. This partially goes to the idea of aging as we get older. Every once in a while, I'll have somebody who's been taking supplements, let's say for 20 years. And they'll say, the supplements that I've been taking for 20 years always worked fantastic. They were so great. They did everything I needed, but they don't work anymore. And I'll have to say to them the obvious that they never thought of, and that is, no, those supplements still work exactly the same way, but you no longer work exactly the same way. You see, as you age, your nutritional requirements increase. They increase because your body has been fighting more stress or driving uphill for a much longer period of time than you had before. Some of your parts may begin to wear out. Your systems are under stress. You no longer digest your food as well as you used to. We know from scientific study that starting around the age of 40-ish, it varies a little bit, but it's around 40, we begin to reduce our ability to digest what we eat by an average of about, instead of saying per year, let's do it by decade. By decade, about 13%. So if you reduce your ability to digest your food, that means you've reduced your ability to digest the nutrients in your food, meaning you're requiring more nutrients because you're eating the same food. You're eating the same volume of food. You may be eating exactly the same food, but you're no longer digesting your food as efficiently. Well, does this manifest itself in some terrible pain? No, it's gradual, it's slow. It's part of the aging process. So between 40 and 50, you're down 13%. You get up to 60, you're now down 26%. You get up to 70, you're now down 39% in your efficiency to digest your food. Do you understand where I'm going with this? So again, people are thinking, well, I know I'm doing the right thing. I've been doing the right thing for 20 years. Well, I'm not going to argue about that. But has doing the right thing for the last 20 years, has that been enough to answer the stresses that continue to increase each year, each decade of your life? This is what I want you to be focused on right now, what I really want you to understand the importance of. Why do we need supplements then? Well, that's why. Well, then Why Manitech versus thousands, literally thousands of other companies? Nutritional supplements, dietary supplements, food supplements, however they're labeled in the different countries. It is more than $1 billion industry just in the United States alone. Globally, the numbers are off the charts. People are buying supplements. They are buying supplements like crazy in all manner of categories because they know they need something extra. They're looking for an answer. But what they don't know is they don't know what to look for. So they go with the best advertisement, the prettiest websites, the biggest promises, or maybe they go to a health food store and they may talk with someone who's knowledgeable, but likely they'll talk to someone who'll say something like, oh, product A is a big seller, so it must be good. That's not exactly science, okay? I can give you a lot of examples of big sellers that when we analyze them, they're anywhere from useless to marginal. They're big sellers, not because they're good, but because it's the information that people have, and people make their decisions based on the information available to them. Most of us, at least I'm not psychic, I don't know about you, but I have to go on the information that I have. So at Manitech, we care about wellness. I know health, we hear the word health all the time. That's the common term. So I pulled this from Stedman's Medical Dictionary, and it says that health is the absence of evidence for disease or abnormality. That's what your physician is looking for. I'm looking for wellness. Wellness is the fullest realization of physical and mental potential, attitude, fitness, diet, avoidance of unhealthy practices, etc., etc. I want you to have wellness, your full potential. I don't just want you to be free of symptoms, because folks, understand this. Just because you're free of a symptom doesn't mean you do not have an underlying problem. And this is why I've been using this particular slide for quite a number of years. I want people to understand health is not enough. Wellness is where we need to be. So what's the truth about health in the 21st century, and why you need the nutrition, and why Manitech? Well, Manitech, we talk about science, safety, and efficacy. Science, actual science, not marketing. We have a marketing department, and they work very hard to do everything that they can for you. But, you know, I'm a science guy. Science is about objectively, and if you don't know the word objective, look it up. It's about objectively gathering information, objectively analyzing information, objectively reporting information. That's science. Science isn't about opinion, and science isn't about politics, and science isn't about anything except science. It's all it's about. And it's part of why I love science, because science is so clean and free of opinions and nonsense. Now, we'll let other people do the other side of it, but for me, science is what counts. So at Manitech, we have 18 studies right now that are posted. Most of our competitors have none, 0. Now, what they often do, which I always find clever, is they'll talk about an ingredient in one of their products, and they'll say, this ingredient has been studied in X number of studies, which of course would be true. But what they don't report to you is how their product has been studied. Because an ingredient, there are some ingredients, when you mix A with B, you'll get C. But some ingredients, when you mix one with the other, you don't get C, you'll get D or E or F. So it's good to have studies about ingredients. I'm all for that. But it's important to have studies about completed products, not just an ingredient in a product. Very important. Safety. We have a multi-layered safety program. Now, what every company in every country is required to do is exactly the same minimum, all of us. But we don't do the minimum. We go beyond that. Why? We go beyond it because as scientists, we know that sometimes stuff happens. Sometimes machines go out of calibration. Sometimes a technician running the machines is having a bad day, or maybe they're distracted by their mobile phone, something on social media, who knows? So we do testing again and again and again. Why? Because we want to make sure that before it goes into that container and gets shipped to you, that that product truly is safe. Now, we're not required to have our own safety lab. We're not required to have our own quality lab. We're not required to do all the safety testing that we do. We're not required to then even take more of our product at random and send it to independent laboratories and have them retest what we've already tested twice, but we do it anyway because we want to make sure that if it goes into your body, it's safe. We also want to make sure if it goes into your body, it's effective. Efficacy, obviously, what's the point of having a supplement if it's not effective? Well, that's where the scientific studies come in. So the study will tell us if the product that we want to sell is effective. And if we do the study and we find out it's not effective, well, we don't use it. We go and we study something else. So Manatech is about science, safety, efficacy. If you want to read our studies, and I invite you to, if your doctor wants to read our studies, and I invite your physician to, and we are welcoming you to do that. We want you to do that. We want you to know that we are proud of our science, our safety, and our efficacy. We've spent more than 50 million US dollars. It's a lot more than that, because this slide's kind of old. But we spent a lot more than that. We are the science company. In fact, we're part of an international organization called the Direct Sellers Association. And when we have our meetings, and we always have our various competitors, who everybody is polite and courteous and welcoming to each other when we have these meetings. So it's no vicious competition going on. But they always say, "Oh, Manatech, such a pain. You guys do so much science. You have so much evidence behind your products." Yes, we do. And we are very proud of it. Now, we have earned more than 130 patents. And by the way, this number continues to grow globally. Now, patents do expire in 20 years, and we keep applying for new patents with new technologies. So we expect that our total number of approved patents will continue to increase. So we don't have 131 active right now because many of them have expired. But the point is we earned those patents. That's the point. And I'm not talking about, some of our competitors will say, we have 50 patents. And then you explore it and you see, oh, those are patents on packaging and, you know, that kind of thing. No, I'm talking about patents on the actual composition of our products. That's what I'm talking about. And we're very proud of that. And where we don't have patents, we have exclusive ingredients, exclusive agreements that are written so that key ingredients can only be found in a Manatech product and nowhere else. And that's important. And of course, we have a state-of-the-art analytical chemistry lab. Very few of our competitors have a lab of any type. Why? Because they know they don't need it. Why spend the money? I mean, you're talking millions of dollars. Why would they spend the money? Well, all of our products are gluten-free because we get asked that all the time. They're all gluten-free, and we aim for that. All of our products are safety tested on multiple layers, as I mentioned, and we make sure that we do not buy material that contains genetically modified materials of any kind. We don't buy it. Now, I say it that way because in some countries it's called not genetically modified. In some countries it's called non-GMO, and they have different terms. So I say it this way, so however it's said in our three Australasian countries, so you'll understand my meaning. We do not buy materials that contain genetically modified materials. We have been in business for 29 years. In fact, our 30th anniversary comes up, I think, in October. That's pretty impressive. And we are now doing business in 32 countries. I think that's pretty impressive too. So let's talk first about vitamins and minerals. We're going to run through a few of our products very quickly. We have different choices for vitamins and minerals. I personally use Catalyst. You may choose to use Nutriveris, and you can look at videos that I've made on both to help you decide. Both extremely fine products and both designed to get the job done for you. These products, such as Catalyst, I designed Catalyst initially for blood sugar, metabolism, and stress. And we have changed this formula several times over the year, improving it each time. And there are many more claims that you can look up on your website in Australasia. And the reason I say your website is because approved claims vary by country. Even if the formula is identical in two countries, the approved claims may be different, and that's because of the rules being different in each country. So just so you know that. Glycans is the scientific term for what is often called glyconutrients. Glyconutrients, by the way, is a term invented by Manatech back in 1996, but we didn't trademark that term. So unfortunately, tons of companies use that term now. The correct scientific term is glycans. And so if you're talking to a scientist, don't say glyconutrients, because he or she may have no idea what you're talking about. And I typically say glycans, but I want to try and remember to say glyconutrients as often as I can. We're the only company in the entire industry that can say that we pioneered a field of science. We're the only one. And that field of science is nutritional glycobiology. We are the wellness company as far as I'm concerned. And the path to wellness begins with intelligent cellular communication. That begins with glycans or glyconutrients. I won't go in depth on this, just to say that the American National Academies of Sciences did an exhaustive study and wrote a significant report on glycans. And basically what they said is there's no function in the human body that does not require glycans. No function. Different glycans, different functions, but it is key to your health. Cell surface sugars, and you can use the word sugar. I hate to use that word sugar very often because people think of table sugar right away. So we don't use table sugar, and in fact, the sugars that we use, which are also known as saccharides in science, and they are also most correctly known as glycans. So virtually every function of the body, I don't care what the function is, as you're looking at the slide there, I don't care what the function is, every function of the body needs glycans to perform that function. Doesn't matter what the function is. More than 50% of our Ambritos technologies, so that includes life and complex, more than 50% of each have two ingredients that are exclusive to Manatech. Therefore, even though the patents have run their course over 20 years, these products still cannot be duplicated. You cannot find a product precisely like these anywhere else on the planet, no matter what anyone says. It all started with Manipul. I call that the king of glycans or glyconutrients. Manipul is the functional component. It is our trade name for the functional component of the aloe vera plant. So lots of people have aloe vera, lots of companies do. That's all very nice. Even the lowest quality aloe is going to give you some function for your health, even the worst quality. But we have the highest polysaccharide content of any of the competing companies. And we are third-party tested in clinical trials for safety and efficacy. And you'll see the word ACE-Mannan bandied about all the time. The original definition of ACE-Mannan, which still stands in the science, excuse me, in the science libraries today, is any aloe which has a molecular weight of more than 1 million Daltons. Well, we are consistently harvesting somewhere between 2.3 and 2.4 million Daltons now. Our original Manipul many years ago was just over 1 million Daltons. We keep improving that. But what you'll see basically is any company that sells aloe is now using the word ACE-Mannan. And I grow weary of arguing with people trying to split hairs on this. So it's better for me just to say, who's got the highest polysaccharide content? We do. Who has the most studies for the widest varieties of health requirements with their aloe product? We do. Who has the most unique pectin blend with the heaviest molecular weight of any aloe product in the world? We do. And pectin, if you look up pectin studies, you'll find that pectin helps to cleanse toxins from your body. The higher the molecular weight of that pectin, the more effective it is at cleansing toxins. And we have the highest weight allopectin of any product in the world. So that should say something all by itself. These are grown under conditions where there is a zero carbon footprint. They only use, at our growing facility, they use either wind power or solar power. There is no carbon source power going on there at all. And we're proud of that, not just because of the contribution to the environment. We're proud of it because aloe plants absorb toxins. And the more toxin there is in the air, the more they absorb. So turn it around. The cleaner the air is, the better that aloe is going to be, because there aren't those toxins for it to absorb. That's pretty cool. I think that's really important. We also know that our Manipul is not only important for cellular communication, and particularly for immune response. It is so powerful for immune response. We also know that Manipul helps to improve the absorption of key vitamins like vitamin C and vitamin E, and that it contributes to a healthier overall colony of probiotic organisms in your gut for a healthier gut. That's important. The Abratos technologies, whichever one that you choose to buy, all have plant-sourced glucosamine, so they are vegan friendly, and they are also kosher. One of our two ingredients, which is exclusive to Manitech, is called AmbroGuard, and that is the premium form of arabinogalactan. There is one company that makes arabinogalactan, only one, and they make two forms. One is the premium form that they sell only to Manitech, and the other is the standard form that they will sell to anyone. Well, ours, we have trade named it, and it is called AmbroGuard, and you find it only in our Abratos technologies. Again, exclusive to Manitech, very important. It helps you with your gut health, and it helps you with the growth and health of healthy bacteria in your gut. It also is a key factor for your immune health. In fact, there was a study done, and this study was not done by Manitech, to be clear. The study was done by the people who make the arabinogalactan. And what they found was that individuals, humans who had been vaccinated with either a flu vaccine or a pneumonia vaccine, and being tested with people who had not been vaccinated at all, they found that of the three groups, and they divided this into several groups, they found that those who received their arabinogalactan had a much better response to the vaccines than those who did not. Now, I won't go into all the specifics, but to just say to you that if you use something which can modulate, that means balance, your immune system so effectively that it improves your immunomodulatory activity as it relates to vaccinations, I think that that's a real super benefit, but it also shows us that this particular ingredient is immunomodulatory in nature. And that's very cool. It also, again, helps with your gut. We won't go into that because we have limited time that we have to get through. But these are the claims which are current, or I should say, these are the studies that have resulted in what we are permitted to say about the products. So again, science is not about opinions. People can ask me for all kinds of opinions, but we're talking about science right now. Cellular communication, cognitive function, that means how well do you think? How well does your brain function? Memory improvement, improvement of concentration, alertness, mood. So going from unhappy to happy, okay, that's what we're talking about. Decreasing irritability, the list goes on when it comes to brain function. The benefits are huge with brain function. Immune support, obviously, you've been hearing me talk about that. Digestive support also, and of course, we have patents in numerous countries. Now we know that our sugars, if you want to call them that, are glycans, which are polysaccharides and monosaccharides and oligosaccharides, the word saccharide being a fancy name in science for sugars. It's not table sugar, and we know from human double-blind placebo-controlled study that it doesn't raise your blood sugar. So those of you who are thinking, oh my God, it's sugar, it's going to raise my blood sugar. No, not that kind of sugar. If you if you put ambertose or mannitol on your tongue, you will not find it to be a taste treat. And you'll say, no, this doesn't really taste like table sugar, because it isn't. Okay. So there are all manner. In fact, at this time, we know of 215 different saccharides found in nature. And there's only a few of them that are sweet. And that doesn't include the ones in ambertose. Okay, so you're not going to have a taste treat there, but you will know that your blood sugar will not go up. And we know this because this was one of these very rare times in science where literally 100% of all the humans in the test had no change in blood sugar, zero change. So that's important stuff. Every once in a while, I'll have somebody who will say, oh, I can't use any of your products because they all have aloe. Well, all of our products don't have aloe. And in fact, we could get into a whole presentation on that we don't have time for right now. But we don't use the part of the aloe which is a known allergen. Why would we? That's stupid, right? That's just dumb. So the allergen in aloe is found in the yellow sap. We don't use the yellow sap. In fact, we've got a great video where you can see how we separate and prepare our aloe. I don't recall the title of it, but it's in our video library, so you can look that up yourself. For endocrine support or glandular support, Plus is our product. And although you must have communication in order to have proper glandular function and hormone function, and that goes back to glycans, Plus provides you with the basic foods that feed your glands so that your glands can produce the hormone. I want you to understand, Plus is not itself a hormone or a combination of hormones. The correct way to describe it would be plant sterols or phytosterols. That's the best way to discuss it. And what it does is it provides that basic nutrition, the fuel for the machines known as your glands that have to produce hormones. They need vitamins, they need minerals, they need a number of nutrients, but they also need some phytosterols or plant sterols in order to produce your hormones. Antioxidants. And I started this talking about antioxidants, and that's how we're going to wrap this as well. More than 75,000 synthetic chemicals have been registered with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and they have more chemicals registered than any other similar agency in any government in the world. But as you heard me mention earlier, 75,000 is not it. In fact, now that we know that synthetic chemicals have the ability to make brand new compounds when they meet each other in water, that could be a puddle, it could be a river, a lake, an ocean, a sea, just water. They make brand new compounds that no one expected, no one could have predicted, and we don't know what they do. And those compounds are apparently being made all the time. So how many new synthetic compounds are there on planet Earth? We have no idea. How many is there potential for? Well, perhaps there is no limit. We have no idea. But we do know that no one can avoid exposure, whether these chemicals are in water or in air or in your food, unfortunately. No one can avoid exposure. And people say things like, and I especially, I used to get this my first few years going to New Zealand, because New Zealand is just so darn beautiful. Gosh, what a gorgeous country New Zealand is. It's amazing. And so many New Zealanders would say to themselves, well, there's no toxin here. I mean, just look how beautiful it is. Well, I hate to disappoint you, but the toxin's everywhere. There's no escaping it. Pesticides can be found at the North Pole and the South Pole. There's no farms down there or up there, but there's farm pesticides. The point is, you can't escape the chemicals that they started making back in 1930, and they keep making new ones all the time, plus the new compounds that are just being made on their own at random. So antioxidants, folks, you better be thinking about antioxidants every day. I wish I could really give you the full lecture I'd love to give you on this, but there are rules. So I just want to emphasize to you, you need to be taking the best antioxidant money can buy every day. And that's just to try and give you hope, try and give you a chance. Well, which is the best one? You know, I'm going to tell you in a minute, obviously. After nearly 4 years of research in our state-of-the-art analytical chemistry lab, remember, almost none of our competitors have any lab of any type, let alone a state-of-the-art analytical chem lab. And after 4 years of research, we did our first human double-blind placebo-controlled test. And we used serum ORAC because that is the gold standard. Everything else is interesting. Some of it's complete nonsense, but serum ORAC is the bottom line. I want to know, what does an antioxidant do inside your body? I don't care what it does in a test tube. I don't care what it does on a finger stick. I want to know what's happening inside of your blood in real time and inside of your urine in real time, because that's another way for us to measure it. And we do both when we do these studies. And we've done 3 of these studies. And the reason we did is because our first results were so incredibly good that we actually thought maybe we made a mistake, because mistakes can happen. So we thought we better repeat this study because, you know, this is too good. I mean, this just, it can't be that good. 2 capsules of our product called Ambertose AO, just 2, giving you an increase in serum ORAC of an average of 37.4%. That's off the charts. Just to give you an idea, to get an increase from eating vegetables and fruits, 5 servings gives you 13%. And think about that. Think about the math here. Well, every study we did, we get consistent results. So the 3rd study was enough. We didn't need to do a 4th study. We knew we were right. And we knew that serum ORAC, based on serum ORAC, that we were offering a technology that no competitor on planet Earth could compete with. So here's one of the examples of one of the ORAC tests that we did, serum ORAC tests that we did. And you'll note that, for instance, you see grape juice on there, and they've got it listed as a particular brand of grape juice here in the US. And, you know, that's interesting. It was, you know, 7%, 6-7%. That's good. And this is why resveratrol, found in red wine, why we have people talking about Well, one glass of red wine per day is of value to your system. It helps to protect your system. It helps to give you antioxidant protection. That's true. Whereas too much red wine is definitely not good, because that starts a whole different cascade of events. What I want you to see is a product at the very end of the chart. And we're not going to name the competitor. In some countries, we're allowed to name competitors, and in some countries, we're not. So I just made the slide without the competitor's name. But this particular competitor claimed to be the best antioxidant on planet Earth. And they said that they had an ORAC protection value as measured in ORAC protection units. Folks, that's not a thing. It's nonsense. It's not science. It's marketing. But even medical physicians don't know that it's marketing. It's not a science thing. There's no such thing as an ORAC protection unit, okay, in science. Now, in marketing, there is, obviously. So they said, we used our ORAC FL, which is where you take your substance in a test tube, you add a chemical reagent to it, and you see if it fluoresces. The brighter it fluoresces, the more it is assumed that it is a stronger antioxidant. Brighter fluorescence, better antioxidant. That's the assumption. Except there are antioxidants that don't fluoresce no matter what amount you test. There are all kinds of problems with that test. Plus, that's a test in a test tube. It's not a human being. So they said, our product has 100,000 ORAC protection units. It's the best in the world. And you only need one little capful each day to give you that protection. And that product sold so well with that ridiculous claim, they made almost $1 billion US before things started to catch up with them. So just a thought for you, stick with science. Serum ORAC, that's real-time testing in human beings, seeing their blood, what's going on in their blood. So we did 3 human clinical trials. We have fat and water-soluble antioxidants. You need both. Fat-soluble antioxidants, by the way, do not fluoresce, so they wouldn't show up on that test anyway. We have phytochemical antioxidants as well as other antioxidants and cofactors. And that's why this product is the product that I recommend, Ambertose AO. Where do you find our studies? Well, you can go to manitechscience.org. That study is constantly being updated. So there are some parts of the studies of the site that are under construction. But go to manitechscience.org for the studies. You will find them under a tab where it says publications. That's where your physician will find it as well, if he or she is interested. If you want to know more about the ingredients, again, go to product, and then you'll see that every product has a series of pull downs where you can pull it down and look at it. Some products are still under construction, so keep that in mind. And if your physician says, well, I don't know about this stuff, it's more of that nutritional nonsense, well, then have your physician go to manitechscience.org. There is the publications, there are the ingredients, and there's even a tab for healthcare practitioners there. So you can see all of that. We went just a little bit over time because we had a little bit of a rocky start. That was my fault. I apologize for that. I hope that all of you have a tremendous day and weekend. And folks, keep in mind, you're driving uphill in the 21st century. Your organic machine needs quality nutrition, and it needs a lot more of it today than it did 20 years ago. So keep that in mind, make the right choices, talk to people who know more about these products. And I thank you for listening and giving me the time for this. Sure.
Dr. Nugent, God bless you. Do you have one question, and it's okay if you want to say you can't answer it, but we're in the field talking to vaccines, and if there's any support science-wise with nutritional glycans for them, either protective or it's okay.
I'm sorry, I swallowed that water wrong.
I wasn't trying to harm you.
Your transmission kind of drug out.
Did it?
I'm not sure what the question was. If you can ask again, please.
Well, lots of us have, in the field, lots of questions coming in. We've seen the studies around support with vaccination, and with the current vaccines, is there any support or any science supporting nutritional glycans with the vaccines that of the last few years? It's okay if you can't answer it. We get that question.
Yeah, I know you do, and I wish I could give you an answer. I'm sorry, I'm still. That really gets you. It's like I got to really clear my throat. I am not permitted to have discussions about vaccines. That's a company rule, and I'm very sorry, but I can't have that discussion.
That's okay. That's okay. It was it's interesting for us to see the support for the other vaccines. So when the time comes, we'll welcome that education.
Well, and that can be talked about, and I can talk about it as I did in this presentation. But as you know, there was a huge amount of politics around this last, and still is. And in the US, there is enormous pressure on nutritional companies. So any discussion of any nutrient that has anything to do with that particular problem, it just can't be done. We simply can't have the discussion. We're just not permitted. So it's not just Manatech. I mean, we're just not permitted.
Well, bring back the science, right? Bring back the ability to question science. That's right. Bring back the science, everybody. Lobby for that. We have voices. So Dr. Nugent, God bless you. Thank you very much. And we'll see you again.
All right. Thank you, Sharon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.